Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is the month of May, which is National Foster Care Awareness Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. So this video is to talk a bit about both, as I have been influenced by both. So for those of you who don't know, I grew up in the state of California in the foster care system for the majority of my childhood. And I have other videos where I spoke a bit about my experience in the system. And with mental health awareness and advocacy, this is something that I, as a result of having been a foster child and lived through the abuse that I did, I have had to understand mental health and dive into why I do the things I do, why I am the way I am, why I operate, how I operate. And so I would think that, or I would say that the first part of this video is to address the stigma of being a foster child that I had. And I know that through awareness on social media platforms such as YouTube, more awareness is being brought to light. There are organizations that exist now that did not exist when I was a child. Of course, the internet wasn't around then, and thank goodness for the internet for that positivity as far as bringing awareness to the plight of children who are in the system still. There are over 400,000 children in the foster care system in the United States, and it is a system that is deeply flawed. It is a system that a child becomes a number in and is just shuffled through. Now they are given much more rights than when I had available as a child. It was essentially the foster care system provided and a social worker that would visit and assess the home and how you're doing in the home, and if there was a move that needed to happen or anything. But even then, it was a very sluggish system, and things took a long time, for change. So there was a lot of stigma around being a foster child when I was young, and there still is a bit with that in talking with people who are involved with at-risk youth. Considered the bad kids, considered the misfits, considered what's wrong with them or what did they do, those kind of things. So I've tried to raise awareness to the fact that I read my court report. It was nothing I did. It was something that was done to me that I then had to learn how to cope with and manage, for the rest of my life. So ways that I have learned, to cope with the stigma, cope with the abuse. It's been a lifelong process of learning, and again, thank goodness for platforms such as YouTube, for internet searches, Instagram, things like that are really bringing awareness through doctors, through advocates, through people like myself who have lived the experience and can talk about it and talk about what helped me, what helped them. So I like to speak about it as tools that we gather. We're just filling up our tool chest, filling up our tool belt so that we can grab a necessary tool for what is going on at the time, what you're having to deal with. And stigma is a hard one. Stigma is a really difficult thing to overcome if you don't have support around you at all. If you're constantly feeling like you're swimming against the current and that nobody understands you, that nobody else can relate to you. Again, I didn't have resources that are available now when I was a child, so I can only mainly speak from my own experience, as well as people that I'm in touch with currently or have been in touch with through the years that have been able to give me their points of view as well. So yeah, the stigma is, it's still, around in society. If you don't come from, the right neighborhood, the right money, the right family name, all these things, you're judged horribly. And it shouldn't be an indication of who you are, who you inherently are within. And that's something that, we're all human, we're all here with our struggles, we're all here facing the challenges that we face. And just because my challenge is different to your challenge, it doesn't make any one greater or lesser than. It just means we're different. So, which leads me to the next word, acceptance. It took me many, many years to accept who I am and all the parts of myself, foster child included, young mother, divorcee, all the different things that I have experienced and lived through. It comes to acceptance of oneself. It seems much easier to beat yourself up constantly or to judge you or judge others rather than sit back and take an observatory point of view of, why are they the way that they are? Why am I the way that I am? And if I want to live a better life, how can I change to get that better life? If I want to live like that person, is that realistic for me? And just to be at peace inside, really. I mean, that seems to be the most important attribute to obtain is just peace within. So, coping with stigma, coping with abuse, coping with society, coping with relationships, coping with so many things that we all have to, as humans. I have been asked, how do you cope? How have you coped? And at times, not well at all. At times, it's been so hard that I did not, want to be here, not 1 minute more. And so that's another stigma, those who are so in the darkness that they can't even utter the words that I don't want to live anymore. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay to feel that way. But the most important thing is to move through it, move beyond that feeling. And so how do you cope? How do you cope when you're in that for whatever reason? You gather your tools, you find ways to see beyond what your current pain is. And I've spoken about journaling, how important journaling has been to me, how I went to therapy in my 20s and the therapist, said, don't stop writing. You have figured out your therapy that's best for you. This is what naturally came to you. And I know it doesn't naturally come to everybody to open up a notepad and write their thoughts out. And that's okay. If playing a sport comes more naturally to you, if going and hitting a bunch of tennis balls up against a backboard at a park helps you get out a feeling of frustration or anger, you just find your coping strategies. And hopefully, if you do have such intense emotions that you're trying to sort, hopefully you are seeking, therapy, seeking the aid of professionals, seeking the aid of someone who's been through it that can maybe offer you some insight and some light to help you move beyond, the darkness that you're stuck in. I welcome questions here, to do with this. I seem to do better with videos when I have a direct topic or a question that somebody has asked that I can specifically address. And on my Patreon, somebody brought up the word coping, and I thought that's a good topic for this month. How do I cope? How have I coped? And like I said, journaling is one thing. Spending a lot of time in nature, which is also natural to me. I climbed trees as a child. that was my escape from, abuse inside the home. I would go climb trees and sit in them for hours. So that's another thing. Reading, watching movies, listening to music. If you play an instrument, playing your instrument, playing your music. Spending time with people that care for you, whether they be friends or blood family. Spend time with people who see your struggles and accept you and can remind you of the good that you are, that this is just a place and time, but you're going to get through it. You're loved, you're appreciated, you are seen, you're heard. All these things that are so important for your heart, to know that you have value and to know that you are cared about. That is, I think that's probably one of the hardest struggles that I had of being a child in the foster care system. And had I not had younger siblings to care for, I don't know, what would have come of me if I had felt completely, utterly alone in that system and in the world. So my situation was, unique to my life, and your situation is unique to your life. So, find the things that feel good to you. I took one of my cameras out a week or so ago, and there's beautiful wildflowers here in Texas right now, and I took like 400 photos of wildflowers. I didn't have music playing in my head. I just walked around and took pictures. And that brought me such joy and peace. And I thought, I can do this at any time. I can, dedicate a couple of hours for my mental well-being to just walk and listen to the birds, listen to, little bees buzzing around, gathering pollen. Just listen to the attunement of earth and of nature and, what you're part of. That's something that's very important to the soul. So, which kind of leads me, into spirituality, the soul. That's another important part of who I am, and what has helped me cope through the years of my life is some sense of a greater, purpose than what I'm in this physical body for. That the experiences I had were for a reason, and that we are all here for a reason. And what is that reason? And what is your purpose? What are you doing here? I had these questions even as a young girl in the throes of heavy abuse. I remember looking out my window at night from my bed and looking at the moon and just thinking of something greater than myself was watching over me. And I didn't know, at that age it was talked about as God, and Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost or Spirit, all these things. So I've had spirituality play an important part in my life that has morphed through the years into a system of belief that I've had now for like 30 years. So that's for another video. But this one was just to, say hi again, and that I'm coming back onto my YouTube channel, get it started up again. And, I go through periods of healing still, and I go through periods of isolation where I recognize that I need to work on myself. I need to get my head sorted, get my heart sorted, get myself in a place where I can be better for others. And it's a lifelong process. It really is. And it's a struggle. Some of the things I've lived through, it is a struggle. So for that, you find your places and things that help you be grounded into peace in your body. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it would be that. What brings you peace in your body? What makes you feel happy inside? What gives you that joy? And can you set aside, your time each day, preferably, just some sort of time for you, whether it be your morning tea or coffee ritual, whether it be, you know, starting the day looking at the sunshine coming up. Some kind of something that attunes you to a greater feeling than just your woes and your stresses of being a human in this life. So that's what I will leave you with. You know, help these children find that place of peace within, and gather the tools that there's so many, you know, so many now for these children, you know, letting them play. Let them play as a child. Their heads are filled with things that they shouldn't have seen till adulthood, or maybe never. So, you know, I was told that the human brain doesn't even fully develop until 25 years old. You know, then it's fully developed. Think of these children and the things that are done, especially sexual abuse, that already society puts such a stigma on just being a sexual creature, which we all are, we're human. But the confusion when that is placed on a child's life is at times seemingly insurmountable to overcome. It's difficult. It's a hard road. So anything that can give that child self-worth, moments of peace, moments of feeling like they're a child, like they don't have to think about they're a foster kid or, you know, whatever. They don't have to think about the abuse done to them. They can just be a kid, you know. Have more of those moments. And for those of us who are adults that struggle with our mental health, you know, coloring, remember that inner child within, and it's still there. It's still a part of you, because we are the sum of every age we've lived so far. So I'll end this video on that. I didn't want it to go too long. But please leave a comment if you would like me to talk about anything specific, and I will, you know, be making more videos regularly and come back to my YouTube channel. And when I began it 4 years ago, it was right, I started shooting, and then the lockdowns happened and some life changes came, and so it's something I wasn't quite sure if I was going to pick up again regularly, and I feel like it is probably best to do. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section, and thank you for watching this far if you have. And I just wish you peace, and I wish you good, and yeah, until next time.